Football. G'day, this is NFL Straya, and I am your host. That's right, just host. There's no co-host today. I'm your host, Jaymz Clements. I'm a guy. You can see me on the panel, the official NBL Supercoach show, the AFL Today show, and of course, NBA Straya. I'm here in Larry Armour Studios by myself. That's right, it's a Jimmy solo pod. What? What the hell, man? I mean, what the hell is that? It's horrible. There's no other way to put it.
This is horrible. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, I got no Gaz. Gaz is on a plane to parts unknown. So, due to a weird time crunch, it's just me. So we're going to wrap up. And when I say we, I mean the royal we. You, me, off we go. The Week 11 wrap show for NFL Straya. We're doing the Jimmy solo pod. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do yeah nahs, which is basically just a standings check. I love a good standings check because essentially it's me just doing yeah nahs. Can they win the Super Bowl? Yeah, nah. Let's go through them all. We've got our usual weekly awards. We've got a little bit of fantasy. We've got our Week 12 picks. That's going to be fun. We'll wrap up, all the fun stuff that happened this week. KC lost, I'll tell you. And that's it. So, I guess we should just get into it, shouldn't we? It is episode 111 of NFL Straya. Oh, let's go!
I've been broken. I've been stripped. The flesh is dripping from my bones.
Oh, jeez, I can't believe we lost. Yeah, it's a bit of a sad one. I don't know, but that's probably good in the end. Yeah, that boy, all credit to him. G'day, this is Patrick Mahomes, having just lost to Buffalo. And you're listening to NFL Straya. Oh, right. I'll tell you what. It's a bit weird to be doing a solo pod for NFL Straya, but I mean, this is what I do every day for NBA Straya. So, this was, and it actually kind of sucks that we don't have Gaz because his Eagles win the first week of the, first game of the week. They curb stomped the commies and away they go. But it was also just an all-round great week of football. Like, it just had a little bit of everything, which was really, really fun. You had some awesome games. Dallas had part of their roof fall in. Like, I don't know, man. It feels like it's a very Gaz-heavy week. There's no Gaz. Anyway, but yeah, we mentioned there, Kansas City lost for the first time this season. To be honest, the first time since last Christmas. Kansas City almost went undefeated for 12 months, which is sick. And the other sort of thing that we're all waiting on is that after the Jacksonville Jaguars got absolutely smash-em-rated, I believe they got straight killed. I'm waiting for the Doug Pederson news to come down. And this is the classic NFL Straya quandary. We usually do the show Tuesday nights after Monday Night Football, which is what we're doing here. And then, boom! Like, something happens after that game, like a coach being fired, like my beloved Dennis Allen or something. Robert Saleh, we predicted that one, obviously, that week. And here we are. We're just waiting for the hammer to fall on the Dougie P news. And I do love that Dougie P has spent all this time going, yeah, look, it all starts with me. It's like, yes, of course it does. You're the coach, Doug. It does start and end with you, you idiot. Anyway, Mac Jones is not helping Dougie P's case at the moment, is he? Anyway, little bits and bobs. I mean, there wasn't a giant amount of extra sort of news, like injury stuff. Like Brock Purdy got added to the Niners, injury list, and you're like, geez, they just can't take a break. But the one for me was the piece of metal falling from the Cowboys Stadium roof, which very easily could have just sliced somebody in half. I don't know if you've seen the footage, but it is insane. There is a producer standing right there where it lands, basically, and it just misses them. It's absurd. I can't believe I didn't kill somebody. Oh, my God. Thanks, Jerry Jones. What do you reckon about this? It wasn't my fault. They tried to open the roof, and it just broke. It's like, dude, you can't even build your stadium facing the way that it doesn't get the sun in your players' bloody eyes, and now it's falling apart. You only built it in 2009, Jerry. What the hell, mate? What are you doing? Meanwhile, I don't know, I feel like building standards in the States are probably not going to get better over the next 4 years, if you know what I'm saying. Either way, so Dougie Pederson, will he have a job probably tomorrow? Probably not. We're about to find out. And the other final bit, Cowboys Stadium falling apart. And then, again, for another great Gaz bit of news for this week. Danny Dimes, that's right, Danny Jones has been demoted. Finally, it's time for Tommy DeVito. Hey, come on, Tommy! I'm walking here. I love me some Tommy DeVito. So, the Giants have pulled the pin on the Danny Dimes experiment. I don't know, probably 3 years too late if you ask me. But Daniel Jones has been demoted to QB3. They're going to ride with Tommy DeVito. How many times are you going to call him Danny DeVito, Jim? 87 in the next 25 minutes. But yeah, Brian Dable's like, yeah, he's going back. He's sitting down his our man Danny Dimes behind Tommy DeVito and Drew Lock. Yeesh. It checks out. I mean, they're 2-8, but the thing is, he's got his injury guarantee for next year. So they just basically, their season is done. They're completely cooked. And they don't want to be on the hook for that massive, massive cap hit for next year. Well, the massive amount of money they'd have to pay him. So they're just like going, right, screw it. Nice. Good stuff. And the injury stuff, as I mentioned, you had Brock Purdy with a troublesome shoulder, seemingly. He's got a bit of a sore shoulder in his right throwing shoulder. That's not great, considering they're missing a bunch of dudes already. Nick Bosa also got hurt in that game. Geez, you hate to see that happen to like a really stand-up guy. So anyway, but there you go. That's about all the news that fits the print. So let's do a bit of a Week 11 wrap. That's right, the wrap from Week 11, the week that was. Hey, remember when Washington and Philly played? It was a really long time ago. 26-18, Saquon smashed it. The Eagles sort of just killed him. Like it was a game, and the Commies were right there, and then they just weren't. And the Eagles managed to get over the top of them. Saquon was incredible. 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. He crushed it. But my big thing is, I think this was a DNA game for me, right? The Eagles defense looks awesome. It's the Vic Fangio defense. It's rolled and clicked into gear by week 11. They're looking good. They're looking tough. It's exciting times if you're an Eagles fan. They get this little mini break. And when we talk about DNA game, the Commanders are still the Washington Commanders. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, geez, we're really good. We're 7-2. 2 weeks later. Oh, man, wow, we're 7-2. This sucks. But, yeah, tough one. So, good win for the Eagles. They're 8-2. Commies up to 7-4. Jaden Daniels, he just looks hurt. He just looks tentative. He had the rib injury, obviously, a few weeks ago, and just hasn't looked kind of right since. So, bit of a weird one. Meanwhile, the Eagles are rounding into form and look bloody good. Then we go to Monday's games. We had Green Bay at Chicago. This game was stupid. Green Bay went at 20-19 because, wow, did they nearly bloody cook this. They blocked a field goal to win it. A 46-yarder from Cairo Santos, and it was always going to happen. Like, all the Bears fans just were like, oh, we're all out, and then they're winning, and it's like, here we go. But really, the Bears shouldn't have even been in the position to win this game with that field goal because Caleb Williams got sacked twice on the game wannabe winning run. He hits Rome Dunze. They keep going, and then they get the field goal blocked. It's hilarious. The Bears showed a bit in this game, but just kind of not enough. And, like, Matt Eberflus just sucks. Like, I spend all my time complaining about Jared Mayo because he's bad. And he doesn't kind of know what he's doing, it seems like, a lot of the time. I'm wearing the Sick Pats hat today, actually, if you're watching on the old YouTube. But Matt Eberflus is just like, his coaching is like crimes against humanity. It's just, what are you doing to these poor Bears fans? Dude, like, they have every right, I reckon, just to storm that facility and go full Jan 6 on them, right? Like, it's nuts. Green Bay still look a bit off, but they're 7-3. Like, it's stupid. 26 of 29 times now Green Bay have beaten Chicago as well. I think if you take it back, it's like 59-15 over the sort of Brett Favre to now era. It's just Green Bay owns Chicago. Simple as that. But Jordan Love, he gets the tush-push touchdown at the end to basically get them the win. And I'll tell you what, commentators love nothing more than saying tush-push. It's a bit weird. Hey, Detroit absolutely smashing my rated Jacksonville 52-6. See ya, Dougie P. So this is my point about the top, right? Jacksonville, they're on the bye this week. So this is the perfect time where you fire your coach, you move on, you basically just go, right, pack her up, boys, we're done. We're starting afresh in the back half of the season. Mac was not good. Dougie P sucks. And they got killed. They got straight killed. They really did. Press the button, Jim. Press the button. Play.
He got straight killed.
They got straight killed. 52-6 is ridiculous. Goff, Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions last week. This week he's throwing 4 touchdowns. He had a perfect passer rating. He went 24 of 29. He had 412 yards. They scored on their first 7 possessions. It was amazing. Detroit are unreal. I loved this game. I went hammer and tongs on the Detroit line, so I was feeling pretty good. They had 645 total yards. That's the 3rd most in the last 20 years. 645! They allowed 170. I'm no math magician, but that 475-yard margin is pretty bloody big, to the point where it's 3rd most ever in the history of the NFL. What? And also, that was the biggest winning margin ever for the Lions. 46 points. They're 9-1. It's the first time since 1934. Do you remember 1934? Jesus. It's the first time since they've won 8 straight and gone 9-1 in their first 10 games. Detroit absolutely smashed them. Amon-Ra St. Brown had like 161 yards, which is a record for him. 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery had 2 touchdowns. The Lions absolutely obliterated the Jags. They were 2-9. Lions 9-1. The Vikings. Nick Westbrook-Akine had a 98-yard touchdown. That was neat. Will Levis actually kind of nailed that throw. Got him back to 16-10, but Akers scored. Game was over. The Vikings defense is just, yeah. Like Tennessee's like, we've got Will Levis. And the Vikings like, yeah, nah. No, you don't. Check this out. They killed him. Just put this game on ice. Like, the Titans are horrible. We don't need to talk about them too much. They're 2-8. Vikings 8-2. They still feel pretty holy, but like the defense is that good under Brian Flores that they might just be fine. But it does, like, they're a team that screams out, we won 1 game in the play, or we got rolled in the first week of the playoffs, and everyone was a bit surprised, you know what I'm saying? Then we had the Raiders up against the Miami Dolphins. 34-19, 3 touchdowns for Tua. John O. Smith went nuts. He had the 57-yard touchdown to basically sink this one. The Raiders are just bad. Brock Bowers is good, but he's a dickhead. Miami, though, just saying, there's now a heartbeat in this Dolphins team. They're 4-6. They're not quite out of it yet. Tua is just like, yep. Don't care, man. I'm just here to play football. You're like, okay. Minshew is just like, hey, where am I? Florida. I'm the most dude. I'm like, Gardner Minshew is the most dude from Florida who ever wasn't from Florida, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean, right? Minshew's not from Florida, but he has Florida vibes. And he was bad again. The interception at the end was his 13th of the year. It's brutal. Anyway, Raiders stink. Dolphins 4-6 now. Watch out. The Rams, the Pats. That's fine. But, Jim, don't you feel sad about the Patriots? Look, I feel sad that they're maybe going to get Drake May killed. He's good. They lose this game 28-22 to the Rams at home, right? Drake May was good. He got it back to 28-19. There was a block field goal, whatever. And then he threw the game-ending pick. Like, you get that on the big jobs. You don't worry. That's fine. This is a learning season for Drake May. The biggest problem is the coward coaching from Jared Mayo, the horrible receivers, the horrible O-line. It's like the meme of like the really super fancy like Rari sitting in like the garage or like the sort of carport for like the shitbox house. Like that's what almost Drake May feels like at this point. It's stupid. Anyway, they were 1st and goal from the 5 and he ends up kicking a bloody field goal. It's horrible. Anyway, Stafford shredded his defense as well. 2 touchdowns for Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua was really good too. Went past Eli for 10th all time with 370 touchdowns in his career, Matt Stafford. He's going to be a Hall of Famer without a doubt. He's got the Super Bowl. He's got the records. He's awesome. Pats, they stink. What can you say? This was a great loss. Absolutely a great loss because with other sort of random teams around them, you know, just snagging wins like the Dolphins. The Jets sticking with a loss though. You know, we're just out here fighting for draft position. It's what it's all about. Cleveland! Oh, geez. Cleveland! They lost in New Orleans in the Jaymz Bowl. He had 395 yards to Jaymz. He's eating wins. 35-14 because Taysom Hill just had a day. He had 3 touchdowns. He had 248 all-purpose yards. It's absurd. Derek Carr threw a nice touchdown to MVS. But the Saints are now back-to-back with the Rizzler, Darren Rizzi. So both Gaz and I last week were like, this is the most locked in. Jameis comes to town with the Browns. Their defense also shows up. New Orleans falls apart. 2nd week under the interim coach. And no, we were dead wrong. The Saints absolutely just got behind the Rizzler. Maybe he like clogged another shitter somewhere in like the stadium. And as I said last week, like he has to clog a shitter every week now. He's got to load up all week. He's just out there eating like steaks, just non-stop. And then just it's all going to come out and he's going to clog a shit up each week. I love that. So good job by New Orleans. Jaymz. Jerry Jeudy went off as well. 142 yards. But yeah, not enough because the Saints have a Taysom Hill. Indy 28, Jets 27. Even the squid was laughing at this game. The Jets are up 27-22 with a field goal from Anders Carson with 2 minutes and 40 left. Anthony Richardson just leads them straight back down the field and boom, the QB sweep at the end for the game-winning touchdown. He had some awesome passes, did Tony Richardson as well. They're now 5-6. What happened here? This entire thing was like, we're going to bring in Joe Flacco for the playoff run. They went 0-2 with Joe, and now they're back and alive because they went back to Anthony Richardson. And this is one of my things. It's okay to bench young QBs. It feels like every time it happens, it's like, he's never going to play again. Is he a bust? He's the worst player ever. It's bullshit. Just let him learn. Take a couple of weeks off, reset, and away they go. Tony Richardson did it. Bryce Young did it. Drake May sat, and off he goes. Caleb Williams, they had to fire his OC last year. I think we mentioned that on last week's show. Shane Waldron got fired by Chicago. And meanwhile, Eberflus has still got a job. Go figure. But anyway, Caleb looked substantially okay-ish at times. He could have used a week off. Jaden Daniels, when he got wanged in the ribs, he could have used another week or two to recover, right? It's okay to let QBs just simmer and figure out what they're doing. Anyway, the Jets are hilarious. 22 of 29 for 184 yards for Aaron Rodgers, who just looks cooked. He looks more done than one of my old man snags. He's like, Jesus. It's like, come on. That's like as black as a dead dog's guts at this point. What are you doing, old man? Anyway, they didn't get a first down until their sixth possession, the Jets. It was gross. It was hilarious. It was gross. Anyway, good win for the Colts. But I don't know. Do you believe in Tony Richardson? Maybe. Baltimore! Anthony. I'm going to keep calling him Tony until he earns back the Anthony. Baltimore 16, Pittsburgh 18. 18-16. It's the perfect Steelers-Ravens game score, isn't it? Like, without fail. This was always going to be 18-16. Pittsburgh didn't score a touchdown. That was 6 field goals for Chris Boswell. Amazing. Derrick Henry and Lamar couldn't get off the chain against the Pittsburgh defense. This game was awesome. It was just, when I say awesome, I mean it was the exact game that you'd expect from the Ravens and the Steelers. I just combined their names. To basically be an arm wrestle. Lamar had a couple of moments, but just wasn't enough. They had 12 penalties and 3 turnovers, all of which led to points for Pittsburgh. Lamar hit Flowers in the face at one point, and just sign me up. I'm going to talk about Lamar again later, but this was just, I don't know. Mike Tomlin, he was a home underdog. I backed them so hard that it was ridiculous, but it all paid off. And Baltimore just couldn't do anything down the stretch against this Pittsburgh defense. It is awesome. It is legit. And even though Rusty Wilson was out there throwing interceptions in the red zone, it didn't matter. Pittsburgh still had just enough to just, Rusty was not good. And they brought in Justin Fields for a bit, and you're like, that was stupid. He's the guy sliding 2 yards before the first down marker. What are you doing, Juzzy? But Rusty, just, I don't know. It's like both Lamar and Rusty were like looking at each other's Spider-Man meme. It's like, Lamar's like, is this the playoffs where I usually stink? And Rusty's like, it's getting towards the second half of the season. This is where I stink. And they're just like, hey, let's all stink together. Anyway, fun game. Love a big AFC North rivalry. Denver kicked the crap out of Atlanta 38-6 because Atlanta are bad. 4 touchdowns for Bo Nix, 307 yards. He's awesome. The only rookie with Peyton Manning to throw 200-plus yards, 2 touchdowns in 4 straight home games now. That's not bad. Little Jordan Humphrey got a touchdown at the end, which is good because he was horrible the rest of the game. Kirk Cousins got benched. You saw Michael Penix come in. The Falcons' defense is horrible. And Denver are now 6-5. They were always going to win this game at home. Atlanta's defense, if they can't pressure anybody, and Bo Nix, if you don't get pressure on him, he's fine. That's how it goes. Seattle 20, San Francisco 17 because Geno Smith is a weapon. Geno runs it in for the touchdown with 12 seconds left. They take the lead. 2-minute game-winning drive. He went 7 of 8 on that drive for 65 yards from the 2-minute 40 mark to like the 12-second mark. Their first win in 3 years over San Francisco for the Seahawks. The Niners cooked this. They were up 17-13 after the Juwan Jennings touchdown in the fourth quarter. Bosa gets injured though, and they gave up 2 touchdowns after that. The Niners have now blown fourth quarter leads in all 3 of their divisional losses. I'm no math magician, but that's rooted. Like, you're done. Seattle is still kind of a mess, but this is the warning. Like, this is the canary in the coal mine for like San Francisco, isn't it? Like, they're just kind of a bit bad. and they're just a bit off the boil. There is a point during a season where you just hit like a tipping point for injuries, where just like the ins and outs and just like, oh, how do we cover this guy? What are we doing? It's fine. Plug and play. Shanahan, it's okay. And sometimes it just turns into Shanahanigans, and we sort of hit on this at the very start of the year. They were a prime candidate from like the team that just has the crap year, right? That turns out to be the Jets, but it's also maybe kind of the Niners. Seattle, just try and make any rhyme or reason to this team, and you've got no hope. Then we had an absolute another rip snorter, Kansas City versus Buffalo. Buffalo win it at home, 30-21. This does not disappoint, this matchup, ever. Ever! 9-2, plays now 9-1. Josh Allen has the game-winning running touchdown, which was sick. I'll tell you what, that was a hell of a call as well. That's the best play. That might be one of the best plays you'll ever see. It's like, it was pretty good. I mean, yeah. James Cook had 2 touchdowns. Curtis Samuel had the touchdown as well. But the fix looked to be in for KC at the end, didn't it? When the officials didn't even look at the non-catch, which was very clearly a non-catch. And then the makeup call for the, was it holding? Mahomes gets called all the way back. You're like, geez, that never happens for KC. So that's now 4 straight regular season wins for Buffalo over Kansas City. Mahomes had 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. A couple of the interceptions were just like, whoa. What did you see there, man? What did you see there? There was a season-low 259 yards for the Chiefs offense as well. So that Buffalo defense is pretty bloody good. Rumors of its demise were greatly exaggerated by me at the start of this year. I'm like, nah, man, you're too injured. He's not going to be good. Nah, they've just gone, Jim, we don't care. Shush, we're going to be awesome. Then we had a cracking Cincinnati Chargers game with the Chargers blow a 21-point lead and then somehow managed to pull out the win anyway. This was also, so 34-27, one of the great kit matchups. You've got the Bengals, you've got the Chargers. It feels like they never sort of play. And it's like, in my brain, I'm like, this is Andy Dalton versus Phil Rivers. But it was a grit and grind kind of game, and then it just sort of blew apart. And like Juzzy Herbs is running for like 65 yards. He's throwing a Lad McConkey for game-winning stuff. You've got J.K. Dobbins going, I'm just going to win the game off my own back. Check this out. Herbs is incredible in the first half and then went MIA during the third. The Chargers' defense was incredible and then just went MIA in the second half. And Joe Burrow just put the team on his back and carried them all the way back into it. Like, they were down 27-6. They scored on 3 straight drives after that, though. And they tied it all up. They scored those first 2 ones on, like, 4th down plays as well. McPherson was out there missing field goals, or else they probably would have won this game. We got 11 plays in a minute when it was tied at 27-27. It was insane. I'm like there, just go, what the hell is going on? Just like on my couch, like, yeah, TV sports. The almost like it was the walk-off basically from J.K. Dobbins, and then Cincy at the end just couldn't do much about it. That's a huge win for the Chargers. We'll get to that in the standings watch in a second, but jeez, they love that. And then today, the last game of the round of Week 11, the Texans, 34, the Cowboys, and their falling apart stadium, 10. The entire thing for me is, why is Cooper Rush playing? And this is a good one where I'll be like, hey, Gaz, why is Cooper Rush playing? Why don't I play Trey Lance? And he'd be like, I don't know. Jim, I don't know. The Texans, look, it was a 14-0 opening quarter. Dallas kind of got back. It was 17-10 at the half. The problem is Dallas just, their offense is horrible and their defense is also bad. So, I don't know. That makes them a pretty bad team in my estimation. The Texans, however, aren't exactly knocking down doors and just, well, they are kind of knocking down, apparently, Dallas Cowboys Stadium. But it was a weird one. Like, the Texans, like, CJ Stroud didn't throw a touchdown. We had 3 running touchdowns from Joey Mixon. And Nico Collins came back. And CJ's just looked a little bit off. Like, he was good at moments, right? He hit some really, really nice throws, but there was, like, nothing to... And he ends up with 257 yards. Pretty good. He only got the sack the once. He had the 1 interception. And it's just... What I've felt all year about Houston is that it's like, it's completely whelming. I'm not, it's like when I saw like, so Gaz went to like Dropkick Murphys, the second show, I went to the first show. It's like you're watching Alkaline Trio. I'm not an Alkaline Trio fan. I'm completely whelmed by them. Like, you watch them and go, well, this isn't horrible, but it's also not very good. I understand why people might be into it. They've got a couple of tunes where you're like, I know that one, it's pretty good. At the same time, the rest of it, I'm like, sure. Right? Just like every other punk band from that era, it feels like for me in my brain. That's what it feels like the Texans are for me. I don't know what that makes the Cowboys. Like, I don't know. Short stack? Yeah. Sure. Either way, it's a good win for the Texans in the end, 34-10. They're 7-4. They're going to run away with the AFC South, but still. Right, let's do some yeah-nahs. I might even have to take a break. Or should I just keep powering? Jim, just keep powering through, because we're going to do standings check in some yeah-nahs. I might have to play like an NBA Straya ad and then come back right after, let's say, this.
This is Cam Glidden.
This is Anthony Drimmick.
This is Mitch McCarron.
This is Jason Kadee.
This is Darryl McDonald.
Hey guys, this is Hugh Greenwood.
Yo, what's going on? This is Illy.
This is Mark Worthington, or commonly known as Wortho, and you're listening to NBA Straya.
You listen to NBA Straya.
And you're listening to NBA Straya.
And you're listening to NBA
And you're listening to
Straya.
NBA Straya.
You're listening to NBA Straya.
And you're listening to NBA Straya.
You're listening to NBA Straya.
Oh, well, you're kind of listening to a bit of NFL Straya, aren't you? So sucked in. Don't have to tell you. Right, let's do it. Let's do some yeah-nahs. I mean, this is basically the standings check. I just want to go through the standings and sort of look at where everything is sitting. Before we do that, hang on. Denver good? Yeah, nah, yeah. Sean Payton, defense, competent QB play. That equals playoffs. It's awesome. Hang on. Is Jared Goff going to win the MVP? Yeah, nah. Well, probably. He threw 5 interceptions last week. Right, but he was incredible this week. Maybe. I feel like it might be Josh Allen's to lose. Pretty good, though. I'll tell you what. Right, let's do the standings check. Now, we've already done all the done teams, but let's start on the AFC. At the top, when we talk about playoffs, we still have the Denver Broncos getting all the way down there at the 7th seed. So at the top, we've still got the Kansas City Chiefs, 9-1, having finally lost. I'll talk about that again in a second. Don't mind that they lost. I think the pressure of having the unbeaten season just does your head in, and it's probably good for them in the long run. I mean, you'd go down and complete an absolute, like, you'd have the first three-peat in 1 million years, but the entire idea of, like, actually doing it with an unbeaten season, you'd be, like, the greatest team of all time at that point, obviously. But 9-1, you knew that just they couldn't keep pulling these games out their ass. And there you go. They finally ran into a Buffalo team that was very good. Buffalo are 9-2 in the 2 seed at the moment. They just look awesome. They just look so complete. The offense is sort of humming. You got Amari Cooper back this week. Number 3, Pittsburgh, 8-2. They are cruising as well. That defense is fantastic. They beat Baltimore at home. I'll talk about Lamar in a second. But the Steelers just keep doing a job on it. The only problem is you might look at that and go, Russell Wilson, though, is their QB. Is he just going to be a spud when it hits the playoffs? Is that going to hurt them? Is their defense going to be so good it doesn't matter? Number 4, you've got the Houston Texans 7-4, which is kind of fun. They look scrappy. And I feel like they're the one team that you're like, well, I reckon if you're a lower seed, you wouldn't mind having a crack at them, which kind of leads me into the 7-3 LA Chargers. Like if they were looking at Houston going, oh, so that's the 4-5 matchup. Don't mind our chances, eh? Number 6 at the moment is the Baltimore Ravens at 7-4, and Lamar just can't beat the Steelers. And amazingly, I mean, at the moment, you'd have, what? The 2-7 matchup would be Buffalo, Denver, and then hang on a second, the 3-6. Oh my God, Jim, you figured it out. Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Sign me up. 6-5, the Denver Broncos. Can they hold on? Maybe. They've been very, very solid, and Bo Nix, look out now for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Maybe beating my beloved Jaden Daniels. Indy are 5-6. So that's sort of almost your line of demarcation. Indy is still within a chance, but you still have the Miami Dolphins at 4-6. Cincy at 4-7, and I'm pretty sure 4-7 is done. Miami, it's just gonna be a lot. It would take like Denver or someone cratering for Miami or Cincy to get back into the conversation, right? At that point, you've already got 7 losses if you're Cincy. You've already got 6 losses if you're both the Colts and the Dolphins. But the Colts have already got that 5th win. The Dolphins, who knows? But they're in the 9th spot. Cincy in 10 at 4-7. Then you've got everybody else absolutely cooked. You got the Jets at 3-8, which is hilarious because that's the same as the Pats at 3-8. The Browns, amazingly enough, are 2-8. Yeesh. The Tennessee Titans are 2-8. The 2-8 Raiders and the 2-9 Jags, who will probably fire Dougie P by the time you're listening to this. So of these teams, can they win the Super Bowl? KC? Yeah, nah, yes. Can Buffalo win the Super Bowl? Yeah, nah, yeah. Can Pittsburgh win the Super Bowl? Yeah, nah. Nah. The Russell Wilson, like, this was the exact thing this week. We were like, I knew he was there. I bloody knew it. Houston, can they win it? Yeah, nah. I just think they're too scrappy. There's some weird holes in that Texans game that just gets me a bit wonky. Chargers. Yeah, nah. I mean, yeah, maybe. Watch out. They've got a great coach, awesome QB. The defense is rounding into bloody shape. I'm just saying. Baltimore, yeah, nah. I think also, yeah. I think Lamar has like this weird sort of thing against Pittsburgh. I'll talk about that again in a second, but still. Denver, yeah, nah. Nah. Just because there's a low seed, it's going to be really, really hard. Indy, nah. Miami, nah. Cincy, nah. Everybody else is cooked. NFC, you have the 9-1 Detroit Lions. That is awesome. I love them so much. Jared Goff is awesome. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I love Gibbs. I love Montgomery. They're just awesome. They're just neat. They're 9-1, and they have this incredible schedule run as well, where they play now the Colts in Indy, which is inside, don't forget. They then host the Bears. They then host the Packers. They host the Bills, which is going to be absolutely gnarly. Then they go to the Bears the week of Christmas. They go to the Niners, which who knows what that team could look like at this point. And then they finish off the season hosting the Vikings. So they're 9-1. They could get to 13 wins almost in their sleep, it feels like. If they beat the Colts this week, they can take care of the Bears twice, maybe. Maybe that Packers game, maybe the Vikings game. Feels like they get to 14 wins. That'd be fun. Anyway, still, can they win the Super Bowl? Yeah, nah, yeah. Eagles, 8-2. Can they win the Super Bowl? Yeah, nah, yeah. That defense is so bloody good. And the offense has like these explosive moments where you're like, who stops this team? And the answer is not too many people. Amazingly, in the 3 seed at the moment, the Arizona Cardinals, because they're 6-4 and on top of the NFC West. That's why the NFC is a bit of a joke, because in the 4 spot is the Atlanta Falcons, who stink. They're 6-5, but they are on top of the NFC South. So, can the Cards win the... they had a bye this week, so can they win the Super Bowl? Yeah, nah. Nah. They're the Cards. Like, they're fun. They could play spoiler. They could cause some havoc. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. Atlanta, same sort of vibe. Their defense is just so bad. And like Kirk Cousins is, again, he's alkaline trio. He's extremely whelming. The Minnesota Vikings are 8-2 and in the 5 spot. That is a team that you go genuinely, can they win the Super Bowl? Yeah, nah. Darnold they have these weird offensive hurdles that they sort of they just dig these holes and they can't get out of the hole to jump the hurdle, you know what I'm saying? The Green Bay Packers are 7-3. Can they win the Super Bowl? This is the same, like Houston and Green Bay are just the Spider-Man meme. Like, are you any good? I don't know. Are you good? Just don't know. They have these moments where they look unreal, and then they have games like this week against Chicago where it's just like, what are these dudes? Like, are they good? What is happening? Washington 7-4 after being 7-2. Can they win this Super Bowl? Yeah, nah. But that's okay. You got a rookie QB. You're fine. The LA Rams are 5-5 and in the 8th spot. That's a dangerous floater right there because they could easily catch the Cards. Their offense is awesome, has some pretty crazy upside. Their defense is still a little bit sketchy. Can they win the Super Bowl? Yeah, nah. Oh, I want to say nah, but I have to say maybe. Like, if they just go on a run, that offense is so good that it's ridiculous. Seattle are also 5-5. Yeah, nah. Then there's no way they're winning the Super Bowl. They're just too scratchy, too inconsistent. They're just like, hey, are we good this week? Yeah. Okay, cool. We're going to beat the Niners. Hey, we're going to be good this week? Nah. We're going to throw away a game and just look horrible. It's going to be stupid. The Niners 5-5 as well. They just feel like it's a big hill to climb. I'm going to say nah. They were like one of my favorites going into this season, but just all the injuries from the absolute outset just absolutely hamstrung them. Tampa Bay are 4-6 as well. They are only, the Falcons are 6-5. Tampa Bay, it's going to be hard. They're not going to win the Super Bowl, but it's going to be hard for them to make the playoffs. But because the Falcons are also bad, they are only 1 loss behind them. So we'll see what happens with Tampa Bay. Then you have the Bears at 4-6. Their season is done. Same with the Saints at 4-7. Then you have the Carolina Panthers riding their first win streak since 2022, 2021. 3-7. The Cowboys now at 3-7, which is hilarious. And the New York Footballing Giants at 2-8. So of all the done teams, we can talk about the Pats, Carolina, Cleveland, the Giants, Tennessee, Vegas, Jets, Jags, Cowboys, Bears. Remarkably, though, the Saints, they're 4-7. They can't really. The Falcons are 6-5. Unfortunately, the losses there are a bit hard. I don't know. Last week, though, just saying, Saints might be still a bit of alive, and Miami, just saying as well. 4-6, just a little bit of a heartbeat there too. All right, let's do the Good Bloke of the Week award. Carl Brooks for blocking Cairo Santos' field goal. He loved that. They loved that. Good job. Chris Boswell, he scored all of Pittsburgh's points. 18. Work that leg, son! On you, Chris. Anders Carlson, I enjoyed this. The Jets' fourth kicker in 4 weeks. He calmly steps up, and they ask him to kick a 58-yard field goal. And he's like, yeah, no worries. His longest in his career was 55. And he nailed it. Jeff Ulrich is just like, I'm going to throw this bloody kicker to the wolves. I do not care. How is that? It's your first week on the job, and it's like, hey, here's a career long. Can you kick that? And he's like, sure. TD, 150 yards for Christian Watson. Puts the big catch on the Bears at the end to get them in the red zone for the game winner. Love that one from him. Taysom Hill, as I mentioned, what an insane week from him. 138 yards, 3 touchdowns. The 75-yarder was massive. He also had a 42-yard kickoff return. He had an 18-yard pass completion and 50 yards receiving. That is 248 combined yards as a runner, passer, receiver, and returner. That is absurd. Josh Allen, that 26-yard run was very, very nice. He deserved a beer after the game winner. Got the one against Patty Mahomes. You love that. And Vidarian Lowe. I love a good thick 6 for the Pats. The big O-lineman. That was very fun. Enjoyed it. We also had the good one today from the Texans. I love it. Look, I just love any sort of defensive touchdown, but the double fumble, the double caused fumble from the Texans and then the defensive score, that was absolutely gnarly because, it happened to, the Dallas Cowboys, and that's always pretty funny. But you had Barnett just rumble it in, and he's massive. And it's like, yes, sign me up. Thick 6s as much as we go. Who's old mate, no mates? Old mate, no mates. Aaron Rodgers. He just looks old. He's cooked. I said that earlier. And this is a question I have for Gaz. I mean, do you reckon he's just regretting not being vice president right now? He's like, God damn it, I could have been vice president. What am I doing on the Jets? This is horrible. Justin Tucker, old mate, no mates. The GOAT is just falling apart. Missed back-to-back field goals. I think it's the first time that's happened since 22. It's always tough to see the greatest not be the greatest anymore. Lamar Jackson versus Pittsburgh. As mentioned, the bloke has more MVPs than wins against the Steelers. He's 1-4 against Pittsburgh in games that he's finished. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. He just can't beat them. It's brutal and funny. And Justin Fields, that is a tough old mate, no mate. It's like, hey, Justin, just as well we won that game, I'm just saying, but what was up with that slide? He'd be like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't know where the down marker was, man. I just didn't want to die. Good job, Justin Fields. All right, bit of Outback Takehouse. It is Tuesday at Outback, and you know what that means? Oh, yeah, took the squids to daycare and bloody school this morning, and we managed to just clip a koala. Had the chucker in the back of the car after beating it to death with one of the squid's shoes. Tell you what, though, put up a bit of a fight. It's all good. Got a couple of scratches. Should be apples, though. But you slow roast one of those bad boys out the back over your barbie. Bloody delicious. So that's it. Slow roasted koala. Only at Outback. And today's Flame Grilled Take is Kansas City threw that game to Buffalo to lull them into a false sense of security. They're just going to whomp them again in the playoffs. But this is the master coaching of Andy Reid at play, isn't it? He's like, you know what? I don't ever want to go undefeated in a season that puts too much pressure on my team. What I want is a three-peat. I don't want an undefeated run that'll just trip us up in the Super Bowl like it did the 7 Pats. What we're going to do, we'll throw this against Buffalo. That'll get them confident, and then we'll just tear their heart out when the playoffs when it actually bloody matters. Only at Outback. I'm just saying, prove me wrong, right? Prove me wrong, Buffalo. The little Aussie battlers of the week. Some good punting. Tory Taylor. It's always fun to see him crushing it. But Daniel Fa'alele for the Ravens didn't have a great game at times, but still, he just has these moments where you can see what they see. He's A, who's massive. And B, he just flat out wipes dudes out. But the other one for the little Aussie battler of the week, Jordan Mailata came back, which is very, very neat. And I enjoyed that a lot. So good for him. Good to see him back out there for the Eagles. Captain Fantasy, bit of fantasy update. Who had the big games this week? Taysom Hill ended up with 38 points. Jared Goff with 34. Joey Mixon with 34. Amon-Ra St. Brown 33. Saquon 32. The toughest one I reckon was anybody playing like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase last week, right? You sort of turn around and go, oh, geez, I hope someone doesn't kill me on the Friday again. And then boom, if you were playing like Saquon, it's like, come on, man, 32.8. This sucks. Anyway, Joey Buckets was good again, 29 for him. Anthony Richardson, 28. 28.7 for Bo Nix. Breece Hall had 27. Not bad. But in terms of the NFL Straya Legends League, I think I snagged another win, which gets me back up to 6-5. But yeah, the NFL Straya Legends League is tighter than a duck's proverbial at this point. Because what? That's week 11 done. We have like just an absolute raft of folks hanging out. Our league leader copped a loss to Judo Chop Robinson, another contender. So we've got like a 7-4 team and an 8-3 team. Ricky Williams Veggie Patch as well got the win. So moving to 8-3. And your mate Jim's at 6-5. And how about our man Gaz? How did he go? Oh, that's right. He got smashed by Ricky Williams Veggie Patch. Jeez, you'd hate to see that. All right. But there you go. That's the Legends League check-in as well. Let's do some Week 12 NFL Straya picks. We have like a bunch of teams on buys this week. We've actually got Atlanta, Buffalo, Cincy, New Orleans, the Jets, and Jacksonville. So maybe the Jets can fire their interim coach as well. Anyway, Dougie P's probably done. Atlanta definitely need a week off. Buffalo just need to get healthy, but they are riding a bit of momentum. It's a bit of a weird one. And Cincy, I don't know, it's just a tough loss that they copped. New Orleans, they're cooked anyway, but they're still fighting. But still, we start off this week on Friday. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Cleveland? That's an interesting one. Gaz has got, like, Cleveland are 4.5-point underdogs at home. I did initially pick Cleveland because of the 4.5, but I'm just, the more I've sort of sat and talked it out on this show right now, I'm like, Pittsburgh's defense is just too good. Like, even in a divisional game, like, it feels like I just don't think Cleveland's offense has enough. Like, the 14 points they put up this week against the Saints, another team is kind of like, we don't know what we're doing. Pittsburgh should eat them up. So we're going to go Pittsburgh against Cleveland. Gaz is as well. We both have Minnesota when they take on Chicago. Chicago are 3.5-point underdogs at home. This is also the week of the home underdog. Just saying. But we've gone Minnesota just because I think that defense and that blitzing is just going to ruin Caleb Williams. Even with another home game for Chicago, this is just a tough ask. So tempted to go Chicago plus 3.5, but Minnesota just have these like little bits where they just go, well, that's cool, but you're only going to score 10 points today, so shush. And Chicago have the upside of just not delivering any offense whatsoever. Detroit at Indy. I initially have gone Indy. I'm changing that to Detroit as well. Gaz has gone Detroit just because they are flying. It is a 7.5-point line. I just like their defense up against that Indy offense because Anthony Richardson, he plays these weird games. Detroit will, like, they are firing on all cylinders. Like, it's just stupid. So I can't go against them in good conscience at the moment. So we're going to go Detroit at Indy. My initial thought and my initial read, I did write this down, full disclosure, Indy, the plus 7.5, very similar to the Jets game this week. It all stays close. Anthony Richardson doesn't completely kill them. And then you look and you go, yeah, but that Jets offense is horrible. Aaron Rodgers is cooked. Jared Goff can throw 5 interceptions and still cover this line. So we're going to go Detroit. New England go to Miami. We've both gone Miami, Gaz and I. Love the Pats. Love Drake May. I'm wearing the awesome hat. But I feel like Miami at home, this is like a bugbear of all Patriots fans. Even in the Brady era, we could just never beat Miami in Miami. So I think Miami have, especially the way the defense for the Pats has been going, it's sort of like they're not a bad team. The offensive line has been pretty scrummy. Like the receivers have been bad. Miami could just easily just hold them at like arm's length and cover this 7.5-point line. I think Miami will be rolling. Tampa Bay at the Giants. Gaz and I have both gone Tampa Bay as road favorites, 5.5 points in the Giants because they're going up against Tommy DeVito. Not to be confused with Danny DeVito. Tommy DeVito. Maybe Danny DeVito would be better than Danny Dimes. Just saying. Anyway, both going Tampa Bay in that one. Washington hosts Dallas. This was a 9.5-point line. It might be more after we saw today, but we've both picked Washington. Jaden Daniels against this Dallas Cowboys defense at home. They should be fine. So give me some Washington. Carolina host KC. The Chiefs, I think it's good that they got the unbeaten run off their back. Carolina are 10.5-point underdogs. If there was ever a time where you're like, well, KC don't cover big lines. They just sort of win out, and that's fine. Yeah, but it's Carolina. Like, they've won a couple of games back-to-back. They're sort of like, you know, they'll be up and about. Their confidence will be sky high, and KC will come in and kill them. Like, this is a 24-10 game. Give me KC. Gaz going KC as well. Denver at the Raiders. The Raiders are 4.5-point underdogs at home. They're also horrible. So we're both going Denver. Bo Nix on the road. Interesting, but the defense should still be bit too good for that Raiders team. San Francisco, Green Bay. The Niners are 1.5-point underdogs in Green Bay. Gaz has gone Green Bay. I'm sticking with the Niners for one more week. If there's no Purdy, I reserve the right to change this to Green Bay. Just saying. But the Niners, like, that line has probably already moved. But I think the Niners defense against Green Bay and Jordan Love, should be an absolute cracking game, I reckon. So give me some San Francisco. Last chance for them on the road against Green Bay. Arizona, Seattle. I've gone Arizona. Actually, so has Gaz. Seattle is 1.5-point favorites against the Cardinals. I don't like that at all. I don't like the Seahawks as favorites. So I'm just going to go Arizona. Boom. And so is Gaz. We then have the Rams hosting Philly. The Rams are 2.5-point underdogs at home out there at SoFi. Gaz and I have both gone Philly. I think that defense, like, the Rams let New England hang around, and Philly's defense is a little bit better. This is a bit of a trap game, I reckon, for the Eagles, but because it's only a 2.5-point line, if this was 3.5, I'd probably go the Rams. But 2.5, I'm still going to take Philly. They could pull this out like 27-24 and just, you know, you're laughing. And then finally, Chargers hosting Baltimore. Now, Gaz and I have both gone Baltimore. I'm actually going to change mine to the Chargers just because I really like that defense. And that Baltimore offense, I don't know, maybe Herbs has a bit of success against them, but because it's a 3-point line, I feel okay. The Chargers could lose this by a field goal and still cover for me, and away we go. And as mentioned, there you go. Only a few different. I actually pulled back a bunch of picks on Gaz this week. I don't actually have the final tally in front of me. Let's see if I can actually bring it up. But so Gaz was up by, I think, 11 at the end of last week, I want to say. So I nailed the Chargers. That was a yes. That was a no. Both got the Houston picks right. So Gaz is now up by 7. So I pulled back 5 this week. Bloody hell, that's pretty good. Yeah, 11-6. So we'll see what happens this week. But that's it for episode 111 of NFL Straya, the solo Jimmy pod. Hopefully this one was all right. It was a lot quicker. Wow, it might be quite literally the quickest we've ever done, just because it was me yelling the entire time. In the meantime, make sure you're following NFL Straya on Facey, Twitter, IG, TikTok, and of course YouTube. You can go see all the shows on YouTube, NFL Straya, NBA Straya, all the good stuff. We also have the AFLW Today show. It's like the prelims this week, grand final the week after. The Cricket Today podcast. You've got absolutely heaps of cricket coming up. You've got the first test later this week against India. That's going to be unreal. So get around the Cricket Today podcast. Get around the Football Today podcast if you like your soccer as well. And hold all tickets for your GGs. So rate, review, star, subscribe, tell them, mate, whatever you got to do for all of those shows on your Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, all that good stuff. Jump in the comments on YouTube as well. Check out the power rankings that we have each week. Lots of stuff always going on. Big thanks always go to House Hats for the intro and outro song as well. Go check them out. They rule. And that's it. Go listen to NBA Straya with me every day if you want. You can also go check me out on the NBL Supercoach show, The Panel, which is very, very fun. There is the FIBA break this week, but we're taping a sort of pre-show to get you through the next week for your super coaching, which would be pretty fun. All right, but that's it. I hope that was okay. I hope you don't mind the solo Jimmy pod. Ideally, we're also this year, we're going to tee up our man, social boy Leo. But because old mate is over in the States this week, so your mate Jim is working from home. And I've got to go pick up squids and stuff. So it was actually going to be way more of a pain in the ass to even get Leo to jump on remotely for this. So just a solo Jimmy pod. Hopefully it was okay. If it wasn't, blow it out your nose. Don't care. All right. We will catch you next week, you dickheads. Later, hosen.